So my name is Paul Greenhead, so I'm Head of Local Government Practice at Methods. Some of you may be aware of Methods, some of you may be aware of our Strategy Director, Dr. Mark Thompson. I hope you are, because I've got a stack of books he's written. So there's a stand outside, so please go and grab a copy. It's really important to talk about the books because the books are really a culmination of our philosophy about kind of public services, and it's really about how we use technology to transform the way in which we deliver services and how we can use technology to reduce the amount of time and money and cost that goes into delivering what are quite similar services in different parts of the country. So Mark's so passionate about that, he's written a book and a manifesto about it, so I'd encourage you to take a look at that. So, who are Methods? So, we've been around for over 20 years. We work across the whole of the public sector, local government, central government, NHS, and we're really focused on delivering transformation and using technology to enable organisations to deliver better services that save money and deliver better customer experience. So, how do we do that? So, we do that by bringing a number of different skills. So we bring kind of a whole bunch of technical skills, we bring capacity, we bring know-how. And that ranges from being good at service design all the way through to being able to support you to implement and deliver on specific products like Jadu. And that's why we're here today, because we're a Jadu implementation partner. We also know local government, so I think this is really important. Most of my team come from local government, my background's local government. I've been in some of your shoes, I've been there as an officer trying to deliver really substantive changes on quite small budgets, faced with the kind of the raised expectations of our customers and the understanding that there's a lot of opportunity that can be delivered from digital, but perhaps not necessarily knowing exactly how to go about starting. And I think that's what I want to focus on when I talk about this. We understand those challenges, we know you've got reduced budgets, we know you've got raised expectations from your customers, and we know there are challenges around delivering at pace, being able to unlock value quickly. And I think that's really sets the scene across public sector, but I think in local government in particular, local government's borne the brunt of a number of cuts over the last couple of years, and I think it's really provided, in some respects, an opportunity because it's forced people to think differently. It's forced people to think about how do they radically transform the way they deliver services in order to be able to operate within reduced envelopes and reduced funding constraints. How do you reduce costs, and how do you create great digital services that your customers want to use? I think the key point to ask, or the key thing to start with, is where do you begin? Where do you begin that journey? It's quite daunting sometimes, and we work with people that have implemented Jadu, and they've got there, they've made the technology choice, they've got excited about what they can do, they get excited by events like this, seeing you kind of sharing best practice and sharing all the innovative things you're doing. But then it comes back, it's about where do we start within our organisation? And I think that presents a challenge. What we do is we work with you. We break down your organisation into parts. So we understand user needs, we understand services, capabilities and technology. And this is really important because user needs drive services. Services are delivered by capabilities, they drive technology. And it's this kind of connection between the technology, the capabilities that it allows you to deliver as an organisation, the services you build from those capabilities, all the way back to delivering user needs. And that connection is really important. So that's part of the way in which we think about digital transformation within the public sector more broadly and specifically within local government. So understanding those things allows you to build a service and technology landscape quickly. It gives you a really rapid understanding of your organisation. User need is all about understanding kind of who your users are, what they're trying to achieve, and there's different ways of doing it. You know, it's user stories, it's user research, user journeys, it's customer insight. Fundamentally, it's about understanding who your users are and what they're trying to achieve when they interact with you. The next layer is very much about services. So what is it you're offering your customers? And how are those services built? This is what brings us down to capabilities, because this is where we're going to start to get into building blocks. So these are the common components that are the things that you need to do in order to deliver services. And when you start to break services down by common capabilities, you start to spot patterns. You understand there's a huge amount of commonality between the things that you need to do in order to deliver service to somebody who is a kind of a highways customer, as opposed to the things you need to do to deliver service to somebody who's an environmental health customer. It starts to become a really effective way of identifying and understanding commonality. And underneath that, underpinning it all, is technology. And what we often find is when we do this kind of initial piece of work, there's a huge amount of duplication because organisations are often geared around line of business applications. They've often got multiple ways of doing the same thing. We did a piece of work recently with a customer who I won't name. They had 6 different CRM capabilities, and again the organization didn't understand where these were within their kind of organizational structure, because they're all being used in discrete ways. They're all being used in very specific kind of service focused areas, and again there's a huge opportunity for rationalizing that and building the right kind of Lego bricks. And Suraj talked about Lego bricks at the start. And I think this is really interesting, because by understanding that relationship between services, capabilities and technology, you can identify what are the kind of the Lego bricks that your organization can use. And I think the fact that you're all in the room means that you've realized that Jadu is a big part of that tool set. It's a big part of the bricks that you can use to build services. But it's also important to understand that most of you, I would imagine, don't have the luxury of starting with a blank sheet of paper. It's not a greenfield site. So you've got legacy technology. And what we help organizations do is understand where they can maximize and exploit Jadu, and how they can do that in a way that recognizes what they've already invested in to deliver value quickly. So you understand what your organization looks like, you understand those services. So how do you then translate that into what you do next? And there's no sort of perfect way of doing this, but you've got to understand it in the context of transactions. You've got to understand the context of user experience. What benefits might you deliver by deploying different digital services? And what's the cost of delivering it? Change complexity and readiness. You may have all the technical ingredients, you may have all the right building blocks, but if you're not able to shape the way in which you introduce it so the business actually uses it, you won't be able to get the benefit for it. And the most important one here is really the library. It's about what can you reuse quickly. And there's been some great stories from the kind of keynote speeches and from the kind of sharing of success earlier in the day about where each of you have kind of developed different digital services. And the library is a fantastic way of sharing that and spreading that opportunity to reuse things rather than reinventing the wheel each time. Once you understand all of that, there's a really interesting question about what's the right approach. Because there's a spectrum here between service design from the ground up, doing really deep user research, understanding the ethnography of your user base and really understanding what their needs are, all the way through to the other end of the spectrum, which is consuming something, perhaps taking something out of the library, perhaps taking something that's already been defined. And I think what's important is recognizing that there's no right answer. You know, there's lots of kind of colleagues that work within the service design space in central government who've got a huge kind of pure focus on kind of building up from user needs, story pointing, have got considerable budgets to be able to do that. I think in local government, what's important is about being pragmatic. It's about recognizing that there are different levels of investment that you need to apply to different services, and about really taking the opportunity to leverage things like the library to be able to deliver value quickly. So I suppose it's a balancing act, really. So on the one hand, you've got the things that you might share and reuse, and on the other hand, you've got things where you can really apply time and attention. And what we really encourage our customers to do is to think about that objectively. Think about what you can do quickly. Think about what you can reuse where it's standard, where the functionality that comes out of the box, comes out of the library, could help your organization, and then be very decisive about where you then spend the time doing that kind of deep service design and deep research-led development of services. And I think that helps you work out what the right balance is for your organization, because everybody's got a slightly different starting point and everybody's got a slightly different set of challenges that they're trying to contend with. But what's important there is, whilst doing that, whilst leveraging libraries, whilst balancing the things that you can reuse and the things you create yourself, is not losing focus on what digital transformation can do. And this is a quote that a friend of mine, our digital director, likes to use. Essentially, there's no point digitizing bad processes, because you just create a more effective and more efficient way of doing the wrong thing. So you've always got to understand what it is your customers are trying to achieve to be able to make sure that you can deliver something that adds value to them in a really effective way. So whilst we've all got shared experience, whilst we're all in similar situations, we recognize that everybody's at a different point in terms of their digital transformation journey. And what we can do is we can help you understand where you are, and importantly where you want to get to. So there's a scale here, which is part of our kind of digital maturity process. But what's really important is to understand and to recognize that not everybody's looking to get to be a kind of a digital counsel at the very top. For some people, it's about kind of delivering value in a really pragmatic way and delivering it quickly. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if you've got the kind of the resource and the focus, there's some really exciting things that you can do. If you've not got the resource and the focus, there's still some really exciting things you can do. But what's important is about being practical and being upfront about where you are as a council and where you want to get to, because that really shapes the achievability of that delivery program. So what do? Well, we can help you define what your plan is. We can help you exploit your investment in Jadu. We can help you understand what your users want and where your legacy technology interfaces with Jadu to get the most out of that investment that you've made, to be able to decide what things are important, to prioritize and to deliver. And we do that in a number of ways. So the first piece here is talking about discovery. So it's understanding where you are, understanding where you want to get to, understanding what the opportunities are that are relevant and unique to your particular organization, but understanding the context of what other organizations are doing and how you can reuse what's available, how you can kind of build on the things that other people have built. The blueprint is all about saying, okay, we understand where we are, so what's the right way of delivering within our organization? And what's really important here from our perspective is that when we work with customers, we do so in a collaborative way. So knowledge transfer and sustainability are absolutely key. There's no point me putting a team into your organization who build you some wonderful digital processes if at the end of that experience they walk out and all the knowledge walks out and you don't get the opportunity to kind of leverage and improve and develop. So working in a collaborative way, having teams that are co-located allows people to create things together in a way that embeds and establishes that knowledge transfer. And setting up the model for doing that is essential. The next bit is training. Training builds on that. So we work with organizations to set them up with the right model. It takes aspects of service design, it takes aspects of agile sort of delivery, and it blends it with benefits management and change management to make sure they've got the right combination of those skills and approach. And the other part that we do is we provide additional capacity. So what we can do is we can set you up with the right approach to get the most out of your investment, and we can also provide the skills and the capacity to deliver quickly, to allow you to build build momentum within your organization whilst upskilling your own people, so that you get to a position where you can deliver value, you can demonstrate success, and you can build that momentum that allows you to continue to get the most out of your digital transformation. But one of the last things I'd like to say is people talked this morning about partnership, and that's absolutely essential. I think it was mentioned in at least two of the keynotes. Partnership is the approach that we take. We're working with Jadu in partnership with Swindon Borough Council. It's absolutely essential to us, the way in which we work. We're driven by our public sector values. We come from public sector backgrounds. We're interested and motivated by enabling organisations to take the expertise we've got from working elsewhere, to take the extra capacity and focus that we can bring, and to really accelerate their digital transformations. And on that note, I'd better finish. We'll be over at the back of the room, just outside in the foyer. If you'd like to come over and please take one of these books and talk to us a bit more, we'd be delighted to speak to you. Thank you very much.